Welcome to Module 11, the Information Technology Perspective. In today's world, technology isn't just part of business, it is the business. From banking apps to healthcare platforms, every organization depends on IT systems to operate, scale, and innovate. In this module, we'll explore how business analysis applies in IT environments, where systems, data, and decisions come together. You'll learn how to act as the translator between what the business wants and what technology delivers. And by the end, you'll see exactly how these principles align with Babok's core knowledge areas, especially requirements lifecycle management, requirements analysis and design definition, and solution evaluation. Alright, let's get started. As you can see on this slide, this module focuses on building your practical understanding of business analysis in IT projects. We'll begin by clarifying what the IT perspective really means, then look at how a BA contributes during every stage of the system development lifecycle. We'll learn to manage and trace requirements effectively, understand integration and architecture challenges, and finally, evaluate whether a technical solution truly meets business goals. Along the way, we'll also discuss the key techniques that make an IT business analyst successful, from UML diagrams to interface modeling. Everything you'll learn here maps directly to the competencies expected in the CBAP exam, and even more importantly, to what's expected from a senior BA in a real IT environment. So, let's start with a simple question. What does IT perspective really mean? The IT perspective is about applying business analysis in the context of system design, development, and integration. In simple words, your job is to make sure the technology being built actually solves a business problem. Think of it like this. Business leaders speak the language of goals and profits, while developers speak in logic and code. You, as a business analyst, speak both. Let's say a logistics company wants to create a delivery tracking system to reduce customer calls. You translate that business goal into system features, like GPS tracking, push notifications, and a live delivery dashboard. Then, you'd work with developers, testers, and architects to ensure each of those features aligns with business expectations, timelines, and budgets. And that's what makes you invaluable. You're not just gathering requirements, you're orchestrating understanding between teams that often see the world differently. A quick note for your CBAP prep. Babok classifies this under stakeholder collaboration. In practice, it means ensuring that business intent and technical capability always stay in sync. The System Development Lifecycle, or SDLC, is the heartbeat of every IT project. As a business analyst, you're present and crucial at every stage. Here's what that looks like. At the requirement stage, you gather and define exactly what the business needs. For example, a banking system may need to process loan applications securely. That's a functional requirement. And do it in under 3 seconds. That's non-functional. Then comes the design phase. Here, you review mock-ups, prototypes, and architecture diagrams to ensure the proposed solution reflects the business rules and workflows you captured earlier. During development, you're a guide and a translator, helping developers understand the intent behind the requirements and clarifying questions before they turn into costly mistakes. Then, in testing, you collaborate with QA teams, often preparing user acceptance criteria and helping users validate that the system actually does what was promised. Finally, during deployment and maintenance, you help monitor adoption, gather feedback, and document change requests for future improvements. Think of yourself as the continuous thread connecting strategy to execution, business intent to working code. The System Development Lifecycle, or SDLC, is the heartbeat of every IT project. As a business analyst, you're present and crucial at every stage. Here's what that looks like. At the requirement stage, you gather and define exactly what the business needs. For example, a banking system may need to process loan applications securely. That's a functional requirement. And do it in under 3 seconds. That's non-functional. Then comes the design phase. Here, you review mock-ups, prototypes, and architecture diagrams to ensure the proposed solution reflects the business rules and workflows you captured earlier. During development, you're a guide and a translator, helping developers understand the intent behind the requirements and clarifying questions before they turn into costly mistakes. Then, in testing, you collaborate with QA teams, often preparing user acceptance criteria and helping users validate that the system actually does what was promised. Finally, during deployment and maintenance, you help monitor adoption, gather feedback, and document change requests for future improvements. Think of yourself as the continuous thread connecting strategy to execution, business intent to working code. Now, let's move to one of the most technically engaging parts of your role: integration and architecture. In modern organizations, no system operates in isolation. Every application talks to another. The CRM syncs with the ERP, payment gateways link to accounting, and APIs connect everything to the cloud. As a business analyst, your job isn't to design the architecture. That's the architect's domain. But you must understand it. Why? Because your requirements often determine how systems interact. For example, if an online retail platform wants to update inventory automatically when a purchase is made, that involves integration between the website, the warehouse database, and the billing system. You'll work with technical teams to define what information moves, when it moves, and how errors are handled. You'll also ensure the solution aligns with the organization's broader IT strategy, its enterprise architecture. That means confirming your requirements don't break security standards, performance goals, or system dependencies. And when legacy systems are involved, you'll anticipate compatibility issues, ensuring the new solutions can talk to old technologies without breaking them. So rather than listing deliverables, think of this section as your collaboration zone, where you help architects visualize business needs in technical terms. In BABOK, this is part of requirements analysis and design definition, connecting what stakeholders want. Once the system goes live, your role doesn't end. It evolves into solution assessment. This is where you measure how well the technology performs and how effectively it delivers business value. Start with the basics: functionality. Does the system do what the business expected? Then, move to usability. Is it intuitive and efficient for the end users? Next, assess security and compliance. Are data protection and privacy standards being met? Finally, check maintainability and scalability. Can the system grow as the business expands? Imagine a new HR portal has launched. It technically works, but HR managers complain it takes 10 clicks to approve a leave request. That's a usability issue, and identifying it early can transform adoption rates. In the BABOK framework, this falls under solution evaluation. And in the CBAP exam, questions like this usually test your ability to identify which metrics or feedback loops a BA should establish to evaluate value delivery. Now, let's talk about the techniques that bring clarity to complex systems. You'll frequently use UML, or Unified Modeling Language, to visualize how systems behave. Sequence diagrams, activity diagrams, and use case diagrams turn abstract logic into something everyone can understand. You'll also use use case models to describe interactions between users and the system. For instance, in a banking app, a customer applies for a loan use case will show every action, from form submission to final approval. Entity relationship diagrams, or ERDs, help you describe how data is structured and connected. One customer can have multiple accounts, each account linked to transactions. And interface analysis helps you define how systems exchange information, what goes in, what comes out, and when. These techniques aren't about pretty visuals, they're about communication. A good diagram can save dozens of emails and meetings by showing what words can't explain. For CBAP prep, remember, BABOK lists over 50 techniques, but UML, use cases, and ERDs are among the most tested. Let's bring it all to life with a real project story. A major bank wanted to streamline its loan origination system. The goal was to cut processing time and reduce manual errors. Here's how the BA led the way. They started by documenting every step of the current loan process, from application to approval. Then, they worked with developers to design a workflow automation engine. Next, they mapped integrations with credit bureaus and customer databases. And before launch, they led UAT, catching a serious data mismatch issue that could have delayed implementation by weeks. After launch, processing time dropped by 40%, and customer satisfaction scores rose significantly. That's what business analysis looks like in the real world, not just gathering requirements, but guiding a system from concept to measurable success. To truly excel as a BA in IT environments, there are a few best practices to keep in mind. First, stay close to your stakeholders, both business and technical. Regular conversations prevent small misalignments from becoming big project risks. Second, document smartly. Write for understanding, not for volume. Great documentation connects context with clarity. Third, learn enough technical language to speak confidently with developers and architects. You don't need to code, but you do need to understand what APIs, data models, and testing frameworks mean. Fourth, be flexible with methodologies. Some projects are agile, some are waterfall, and most are somewhere in between. The best BAs adapt, shifting their communication and planning style as needed. And above all, never lose sight of business value. Every feature, every change request, every meeting should ultimately answer one question: how does this improve the business? That's the mindset of a certified business analysis professional. Let's wrap up with a quick reflection on what we covered today. The IT perspective is where business analysis meets technology. It's about bridging strategy, systems, and stakeholders. You've learned how to work through the SDLC, manage evolving requirements, visualize integrations, and evaluate delivered solutions. In BABOK terms, this connects to requirements lifecycle management, requirements analysis and design definition, and solution evaluation. For your CBAP journey, remember that IT perspective questions often test your ability to think systemically, to understand how one decision in business logic affects integration, usability, or scalability. And as you grow as a BA, remember this: technology doesn't create value by itself. It creates value when guided by analysis, clarity, and purpose. That's your role. You don't just manage requirements, you shape outcomes. Congratulations on completing Module 11.